Good afternoon and welcome to the October 10th meeting of the Glendale Commission on the Status of Women. Ms. Cordova, can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Alcazar.
Here.
Commissioner Burns.
Present.
Commissioner Garsavanian. Vice Chair Miller.
Here.
Commissioner Sarukanian.
Here.
Commissioner Tastian.
Here.
And Chair Devine.
Thank you. Next item.
The agenda for October 10, 2011 meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside of Glendale City Hall on or before October 7, 2011. At 2 is introductions and presentations. 2A is introduction of new student ex officio commissioners Jacqueline Alcazar and Natalie Sarukanian.
Thank you. Ms. Babumian, do you have a introduction for the girls?
Yes. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, but Jacqueline Alcazar and Natalie Sarukanian are our new student ex officios. They were selected to start in September. However, due to the postponement of our September meeting, we decided to let them start in October. So I just wanted to welcome them. And Jacqueline, if you'd like to introduce yourself and say a few words.
Good evening, Commission. My name is Jacqueline Alcazar. I currently attend Holy Family High School as a senior, and I am the Associated Student Body President and Ambassador for my school. I also do many extracurricular activities such as cross-country manager and lead cantor at our weekly masses, and I'm really excited to be here.
Great. Thank you. I think you're the first we've had from Holy Family. Is
Yes.
that correct? Yes. Good to have you.
And I'd also like to present Natalie Sarukanian. Welcome, Natalie.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Natalie Sarukanian, and I am a senior at Clark Magnet High School. Since freshman year, I've been a part of Associated Student Body as vice president of my class, and I've also been the president of the Armenian Club for 4 years. I'm very excited to be here, and thank you for having me.
All right. Next item. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
2B is presentation to former student ex officio Commissioner Marie Danielian.
Okay, since Marie can't make it tonight, we'll skip to the next item, please. But we do want to thank her for her 2 years of service. She was a terrific ex officio, and we wish her the best at UCLA. Next item.
2C is domestic violence awareness, YWCA of Glendale. Michelle Roberts, Executive Director.
Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you. Good evening. I want to thank the Commission for actually being on the forefront of bringing issues of violence against women, as well as other issues that affect women's lives, to the forefront in our community. As she said, I'm the Executive Director of the YWCA. I'm here tonight to speak about Domestic Violence Awareness Month and our domestic violence service programs. It's one of the many programs that the YWCA has, and probably our largest one here in Glendale. As you all know, the Commission is the joint sponsor of our Candlelight Vigil, and I've seen you've had the publicity up, and I want to invite and encourage everyone in the community to come. That's on Thursday, October 20th. It's at the YWCA's Regency Room, and we're located at 735 East Lexington here in Glendale. The program starts about 5:30, and we'll have speakers and entertainment, and ending with a vigil to sort of honor and memorialize women who have been affected by domestic violence. So I thought I'd start with a few of the sad facts. Sort of the realities are that about 1 in 4 women will experience domestic violence sometime in their lifetime. Young women between the ages of 18 and 24 are actually at greatest risk. They have the highest incidence. We're also seeing an unfortunate trend that younger women, adolescent and teen women, are experiencing teen dating violence at ever-increasing rates. About 37% of visits to emergency rooms by adult women are as a result of domestic violence, whether it's reported that way or not. And battered women are at greatest risk of serious injury and murder after separation or after leaving a batterer, which is a fact that most people don't know. And it's what speaks to the question that is often asked of battered women or those who work with battered women about why don't they leave. The risk is often greater after they leave. So So I thought I'd just share a little bit of information about our program, what we're doing, and then I would be happy to answer any questions that the Commission has. The YWCA of Glendale's Domestic Violence Project has actually been in operation since 1979. So for over 30 years, we have been serving battered women and their children in the greater Glendale, Burbank area, Montrose. We're one of about 25 programs that serve domestic violence victims in Los Angeles County. We're an active member of those networks. We work very closely with other programs. As often, it's not safe for battered women to remain in their communities once they've made a decision to leave, so we are part of a greater network, both in LA County and actually statewide. The goal of our domestic violence program is really about empowering women. I know your theme for the year is about elevating women, and this is just another way to sort of look at that when you empower women to be independent, to be able to sustain themselves and their children's in lives free from violence, it really is about elevating and empowering women. And what we do is, through a variety of services that we provide, we hope to give women the tools, the information that they need to make decisions about what's best for their lives. We do this in a variety of ways. We have a walk-in center, a service center, if you will, for women who are not seeking shelter or maybe aren't ready for shelter yet. And through our Domestic Violence Service Center, we offer individual and group counseling. We have case management available. We have ESL classes and a computer language lab. We do the emergency sort of crisis interventions on a walk-in basis as well there. We are fortunate to have a staff attorney on board who can provide free legal assistance to victims of domestic violence in civil matters, whether that's a restraining order, could be a custody divorce, could be property, could even be landlord-tenant if she's being faced with eviction because of the domestic violence that's going on in her life. And we have community education and outreach where we try to take every opportunity to get out into the community and talk more about domestic violence, educate the community, and let the community know that there are services available for those who are experiencing domestic violence. We're probably best known for our shelter. We have Sunrise Village Emergency Shelter. We have 17 beds, which isn't very many beds, but we have 17 beds so that at any given time we will have women and their children who have fled or are in need of safe shelter, safe haven, come into our program. They can stay for up to 45 days. They get food, clothing, counseling, case management, and linkages and referrals to other support services in the community, all free of charge. Our shelter is confidentially located for the safety of the residents as well as the staff and volunteers. And most people access, or the access point for most of our services, including shelter, is our 24-hour hotline. Our hotline number, which is 818-242-1106, can be accessed 24/7. We always have staff and or volunteers on the line to answer questions, provide information, help people who are really in crisis about domestic violence or those who may be calling to get information about services. Our shelter, as I said, is sort of the safe haven. It's the sort of the last kind of stop, if you will, for families who have really experienced domestic violence to the degree that they really have nowhere else to turn. Last year, we provided emergency shelter to 86 women and their children. We took over 1,600 domestic violence-related calls on our hotline. We actually get a lot of other calls just for information and other issues, but 1,600 calls that were related just to domestic violence. We served over 300 women at our Domestic Violence Service Center, and we provided over 1,200 sessions of either individual or group therapy for those women and their children. I also do want to clarify that if there's a male victim of domestic violence, we actually do provide services as well. However, we don't shelter them at our emergency shelter. And again, we are the YWCA. Our focus is on serving women, empowering women, but we hope to reach out to anyone in the community who's experiencing domestic violence and also to the broader community. We also have a very vigorous volunteer program. Twice a year we do it's actually 40 hours of training that we provide to volunteers before they're able to work in any of our programs. And we're always looking for volunteers, whether that's to staff our hotline, to work in our service center. We provide free childcare for the clients when they're getting services at our center. People provide childcare, or if you just really have some time and are willing to sit and just talk to someone, a woman in our shelter one-on-one over a cup of coffee or tea, sometimes that's a valuable service that a volunteer can provide too. Just reaching out and letting know someone that you really do care about them. So that's who we are and what our domestic violence program is sort of in a nutshell. So if you have questions, I would be happy to answer them or do my best.
Thank you, Michelle. First of all, welcome to Glendale. It's nice to have you here and to hopefully bring some stability to the YWCA. It sounds like you're well on your way to doing that. I just want to have a couple of questions. You mentioned 17 beds. Are they all occupied at this time?
I think as of today we had a couple of spaces, but we have 3 families in there now. So on any given day it depends on what the need is. Sometimes we'll get a call from a family that's larger than we can accommodate. Another thing to clarify, and thank you for asking, Paula, was that our shelter is also available to single women. They don't have to be accompanied by children, and I think that may be something that's changed somewhat from the past, but I just wanted to clarify that. So we do occasionally have single women as well.
And I know that in our community there's always a question about language, and some of the parts of the community are reluctant to call because of a language barrier. Can you give us some information on what you offer as far as language?
Currently, we offer all of our services in English, Spanish, and Armenian. We have some other language capacity, but those are the languages that are available at any time. We have staff that are bilingual and bicultural for all of those languages, and we're working on maybe increasing our capacity. We're trying to partner more with other community organizations. We work closely with Armenian Relief Society. We have an agreement with them to do some cross-referral and cross-training, as well as trying to develop more collaboration with the Center for Pacific Asian Family to serve Asian language families as well.
Commissioners, any questions, comments?
Good question. If we're interested in doing the volunteer work, who would we contact?
You can call us at the Y, and the number, let me just give you the office number. Our center on Lexington is 818-242-4155. If you call that number, they'll direct you to our volunteer coordinator, Annette, and she can give you more detailed information. And
Mr. Toshtian?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to welcome you also to the YWCA. I know that you've been in the domestic violence, sexual assault, how could I put it, field since 1989. And I understand that you have a lot of experience in domestic violence and also in the shelter programs.
I do.
And I hope, and I'm pretty confident that you'll do a really good job. I do have one question with respect to how someone gets into your shelter program. Let's say there's an act of domestic violence. I'm assuming that they would call the domestic violence hotline. What happens thereafter, and how eventually does one get into a shelter program?
Sure. It's pretty similar for most shelter programs in Los Angeles County. The access point really is the 24-hour hotline. Sometimes it will be the victim themselves. Sometimes we'll get a call from a law enforcement agency. There are also many domestic violence response teams in the area. But one way or another, we will have contact with the victim, talk to them about their situation, what's been going on, kind of determine the need for shelter. We do explore if there are other resources, safe resources for them. But if not, we would sort of conduct a phone intake with that person to really get the background and the information, and then make arrangements, again, to either bring them into our shelter, or if we don't have room, we would give them referrals to other shelters. Every day there's a sort of a bed count, if you will, among the domestic violence shelters in the county, and we all call in with what our availability is. So we try to make sure we're not referring someone someplace that doesn't have space. So we try to keep on top of that every day. But generally it's primarily through a phone intake. We do need to speak with the victim directly. We also need to make sure that that person really wants to come into shelter, and that might sound odd, but sometimes people have pressure from outside resources, whether it's maybe a criminal justice system or friends or family pressuring them. So we really want to make sure that it's the victim themselves who's really seeking shelter.
And do we have the 24-hour hotline number?
I mentioned it, but I will certainly mention it
Sorry.
again. It's 818-242-1106.
All right, thank you very much, and good luck to you.
Thank you.
Comments, questions, commissioners? No? Oh, Commissioner Alcazar?
In regards to student volunteers, do you allow students 18 and under to help volunteer with the YWCA?
In some capacities, we do. We actually have a number of volunteers, not so many in our domestic violence program. Generally, you'd have to be 18 or older to do that, but we do have some student volunteers that have helped us with childcare, for example, working with the kids. We also have some after-school and summer camp, well, mostly now it's summer camp programs. Also doing things like helping us with our events, like the Candlelight Vigil that's coming up on the 20th. We actually have a number of student volunteers with that. So if you have a desire to volunteer, we certainly will try to find a meaningful opportunity for volunteers.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I have one more question for you. We're all wearing pink and purple ribbons tonight because this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month and also Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Now, I know that the YWCA does have a program that deals with breast cancer. Am I correct? Can you tell our viewers a little bit about
an
that?
Encore Plus program, which basically is it's a little bit on hiatus now, but the whole focus of the program is to bring awareness about the importance of getting breast and cervical cancer screenings, especially to lower income women over the age of 40. So some of it's information and some of it is actually referral to service providers. We don't provide the services on site, but it's an information referral service. So,
Do you have any idea when that'll be up and running again?
right now, it's a matter of trying to staff it. So as soon as we get staffing on board, we'll have a bigger effort. Our efforts this last year have been mainly in the information and community education.
Very good. Any other comments, questions? Thank you, Michelle, for coming in and giving us the information on domestic violence shelter here in the YWCA in Glendale.
Thank
And
you.
good
I
luck.
hope to see you all at our vigil next week.
Yes, and let's mention that. I know it's been on the screen. It will be on Thursday, October 20th from 5:30 to 7:30. We'll be at the YWCA on Lexington. Hopefully, I think all the commissioners will be there and staff, and it's always a wonderful and moving program. So I invite everyone to come and honor those that are victims and remember those that have not survived domestic violence. Thank you. Next item, please.
3 is oral comment. Discussion is limited to items not a part of this agenda. Time is limited to an amount to be set by the chair. The commission may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or discussion. Staff may refer the matter to the proper department for investigation and report.
Okay, I have no card, so we have no speakers, so shall we move to the next item, please?
4 is consent items. 4A is approval of the minutes of the regular commission meeting held on August 8, 2011.
Okay, let's see. Do we have any corrections or additions to that item, to those minutes? Shall we vote to approve as presented? Do I have the motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second it.
And roll call, please.
Commissioner Burns,
Yes.
Commissioner Garsavanian, Vice Chair Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tostian,
Yes.
and Chair Devine.
Yes. Next item?
4B is approval of the minutes of the special commission meeting held on September 23, 2011.
Okay, I have to abstain, and I know that Commissioner Garsavani is not here, so can we take a vote on that one? No.
Well, Madam Chair,
Yes.
the only point that I would raise is the commissioners who were absent but have reviewed the tape of the meeting and could attest to the accuracy of the minutes as presented could in fact participate in the vote. So if that is in fact the case, then you may entertain a motion and take a vote at this time.
Okay.
Otherwise, you may choose to continue it.
Okay. Then, since I did watch the tape, I can vote on that one. Okay, so do I have a motion to accept those minutes?
I make a motion to accept those minutes.
Second? Mr. Burns?
Second.
Vote, roll call, please.
Commissioner Burns,
Yes.
Commissioner Garcevanian, Vice Chair Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tostian,
I have to abstain.
and Chair Devine.
Yes. Next item, please.
5 is business agenda. A is action items. 1 is consideration and discussion regarding the continuation of the Commission Project Rescue Grant Program to the Glendale Police Department. A is a motion providing direction regarding the continuation of the Commission Project Rescue Grant Program to the Glendale Police Department.
We have a report, please, Ms. Babumian.
Sure. Chair, Devine, members of the Commission, domestic violence, as we're all aware, is one of the most common forms of gender-based violence and is often characterized by long-term patterns of abusive behavior and control. A lot of DV crimes are underreported for a number of reasons. In 2009, the statistics provided by the Glendale Police Department show that there were 441 DV-related police reports. In 2010, the number remained fairly consistent at 443 reports. For 2011, there is information available from January through August, and thus far we have about 288 reports. It's slightly higher than average for where we're at, but it's pretty much on base for the last 2 years. When police respond to DV-related calls, the victim may go to an emergency DV shelter, and they're referred outside the city if he or she feels that they're not safe at home. And in conversations with members of the police department's Violent Crimes Bureau, there have been instances, a few, in which emergency DV shelters are full, or victims who do not speak English or for other reasons can't go to an emergency shelter. And so acknowledging these dangers and the risks involved with having these victims remain in their homes or go to the home of a known family member, the Commission awarded a grant in the amount of $2,500 last year to the Glendale Police Department. This grant was called Commission Project Rescue, CPR, and was established to provide hotel vouchers for DV victims, and the funding was awarded to the police department in October of 2010 to administer over a 1-year period. With this grant, police are able to offer hotel vouchers for a limited amount of time to victims on a case-by-case basis, should they find themselves in a situation where referring the victim to an emergency DV shelter is not an option. Victims utilizing CPR are escorted to a hotel outside of the city of Glendale where police have an established relationship. Charges for the hotel would be paid by the police through the funds provided by this grant. And for the most part, victims are limited to a duration of a maximum of 2 nights. Again, it's on a case-by-case basis, and they are checked up on by the police to ensure that they are seeking DV services once they leave the hotel, and making sure that they have a safe, secure location to go to. And according to the Violent Crimes Bureau of the Glendale Police Departments, the funds were utilized for 1 victim last year, and it was fairly recently. If you'd like me to go into the case, I can. And Detective Gaxiola, who's also here, can as well. And let's see. While only 1 person utilized this grant over the 1-year period, police have indicated that there were many instances where they were almost utilized, the funds were almost utilized. A lot of times the suspect was apprehended, taken into custody, thus eliminating the immediate need to go to an emergency location. At this point, staff respectfully recommends that the Commission provide direction regarding the continuation of the CPR grant. The funding that was used this year was $194.70, And so there's leftover funds if the commission chooses to continue this grant. And as I mentioned, Detective Gaxiola, who was instrumental in coordinating this grant, is also here representing the Glendale Police Department's Violent Crimes Bureau, should the commission have any questions. And if you have any, this concludes my report. Thank you.
When we, please, Detective, come on up. When we originated this grant last year, it was, one of the conditions was that every year the police department would come and give us a report on how the funds were used. So Ms. Baboumian has mentioned that you used it once, and I'd like for you to explain to the rest of the commission and the public how it was used.
Good evening. The case she was referring to, I believe, occurred at the end of August, early September. It originally originated as a stalking violation of a court order complaint. Through the course of the investigation, the suspect, and unfortunately I can't divulge too many details because it's still in litigation. He is still currently in custody. But during the course of this investigation, the suspect was also making contact with the victim's daughter. The suspect had a prior history for domestic violence. Due to the nature of this investigation, we felt that the victim's life was in danger. We tried setting her up with a shelter, but due to a medical condition, the shelter could not accept her. We do have a location that we use. It's outside of the city, and it remains confidential, where we house these victims of these types of incidents where they are in grave danger. She was transported there. She was there for 3 nights. Typically, we wanted to keep it at 2 nights, but due to this situation, we extended it to 1 night, because I believe the 3rd night would have been Sunday, and all the courts and resources would have been limited to her. It could not have worked any better in terms of utilizing this grant for this case. I also brought some information regarding the most recent case where we would have utilized it, but we were able to locate this suspect. And this was in the news press. It was a stabbing incident involving a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship with 2 children. If we would not have been able to locate this suspect, we would have utilized the funds for this as well. Ms. Baboumian mentioned the amount for this incident, which was 1 adult female, which was approximately $194. If we would have used it for this situation, she had a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, so that amount could have been considerably higher, depending on the nights, and as well as utilizing resources for feeding them and any other things they would need. But to speak from my experience and just in the year and utilizing this and what I've seen with this, I can't thank you guys enough for providing us with this. As you can see, with budget cuts, and I mean, we just lost another detective who had to go back to patrol. We are just about pulled as far as we can go in terms of what resources and what we can do in these types of cases. So I thank you, and I hope you will consider to renew this grant, because it has been beneficial for the department as well as for the citizens of Glendale.
I thank you, and I'm glad that you had access to the funds. Now, we issued you a grant for $2,500, and according to the report, you've so far used $200. Correct? Approximately $200, which means that you would have $2,300 left. So if we do this on a year-to-year basis, would you be agreeable to us simply letting you're going to keep the $2,300 and keep using that as you need it, and then come back to us next year? And if you need more, if you need a renewal of the $2,500, then the commission can take a vote on that and then reissue you the grant.
I think that's a great idea.
Would that be good for you? Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Commissioners, do you have any comments about Commissioner Burns?
When reading it, I thought maybe we would just bring it back up to $2,500. In other words, issue a check for $200 and you would start at $2,500 again for this coming year. Doesn't really make any difference whether it stays at 23 or up to 25, but that would be the way I would prefer to do it.
How do the other commissioners feel? It's a good idea.
Either way, it's a win-win for us as long as we have this available to use.
Right.
We're indebted to you.
I agree with Commissioner Burns. I think if we could leave it at $2,500, add another approximately $200, and keep it at $2,500 until next year. We come back, we'll see what happens at that time. So I think that's a good idea, Commissioner Burns.
Do I have a motion? Do I I have a motion?
Well, I move to add an additional $200 to the grant to bring it up to approximately $2,500.
I have a second?
May I second that?
May.
I will.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Burns?
Yes.
Vice Chair Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Tashjian?
Yes.
And Chair Devine.
Yes.
You guys have
Very good.
Good luck.
Thank you, Detective. Thanks for your hard work on domestic violence. I know we have a very supportive police department. Thank you. Next item, please.
2 is consideration and discussion of teen dating violence resources to Glendale High Schools as part of the Domestic Violence Awareness Month activities. A is a motion providing direction regarding teen dating violence resources.
Before we get the report on this, I meant to ask the detective, the shocking numbers. He said, or in your report, you said the police department received 400 calls. And Michelle said that you received 1,600. And I think that's shocking. The police, that you get 4 times as many. And that's what it's proved in the census reports that we did in the last commission women's report, that you were getting almost 4 times as many as the police department, because women are afraid to call the police. Yeah. Okay, let's have a report on, I just wanted to add that, a report. Ms.
Yes,
Levin.
Chair Devine, members of the Commission, at the last Commission meeting, members approved 2 events for the Domestic Violence Awareness Month. One is the proclamation that was issued by the Mayor and City Council proclaiming October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. This was presented to the Commission on Tuesday, October 4th at the City Council meeting. And the second event, which is coming up that Ms. Roberts mentioned from the YWCA, is the Candlelight Vigil, which is the annual joint event that the Commission organizes with the YWCA. It's scheduled to take place, as she mentioned, Thursday, October 20th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. in the ballroom of the YWCA located on East Lexington in Glendale. This vigil is held in memory of victims of domestic violence. Those who are survivors attend, and it's also in memory of those who have passed. It's an opportunity to provide awareness to the community, as well as education and outreach. Speakers at the vigil will include victims of domestic violence, representatives from the religious organizations in the city of Glendale, the Glendale YWCA, the Commission on the Status of Women, and the Glendale Police Department. In addition to these events, the Commission had asked this particular item of having the teen dating violence resources come back to be placed on the agenda for this meeting for reconsideration and ask for further exploration of materials that can be provided to teens regarding dating violence in the schools. Last year, the Commission had partnered with the Glendale Unified School District to present a forum on teen dating safety and partner abuse. And to complement this event, the Commission had put out these bookmarks. The information from the bookmarks was primarily pulled from Break the Cycle, which is a local organization that the Commission works with. And these were approved by the school district and distributed to the students among the 4 GUSD high schools. And you have a copy of this bookmark as Exhibit 1 in your report. Since the last meeting, staff had contacted Break the Cycle. As mentioned, that's the nonprofit that the Commission works with in Los Angeles. And they're dedicated to empowering youth to end domestic violence. And staff at Break the Cycle provided information about the launch of their new Love is Respect campaign. They were formerly doing the Safe Space project, and they're now transitioning into this Love is Respect campaign. And this is being supported on the national level by President Obama, and particularly VP Joe Biden has been going out on a speaking tour and promoting this website and the resources of Break the Cycle. And so staff at Break the Cycle recommended that the work that the Commission does be reflective of the work that's being promoted on the national level. The loveisrespect.org website features a few new items, including a number that students can text. I believe it's a 5-digit number. You can text and get resources from Break the Cycle volunteers and staff in real time. There's also a live chat feature when you go on their website. You don't even have to go in through your Google Talk or your AOL. You just go right onto their site and chat with them. Teens and young adults who contact Break the Cycle, whether it's by calling them, texting them, or live chat, get one-on-one real-time confidential information from trained peer advocates. And with their new Love is Respect campaign, they are issuing palm cards, and this has text and live chat contact information. And it also has the 10 warning signs, very similar to the warning signs that the Commission had put out last year. The warning signs that the Commission had put out on the bookmark were pulled from Break the Cycle, and I believe they've slightly changed their warning signs, but they're pretty much consistent. The cost to order 10,000 palm cards from Break the Cycle would be $1,000 plus tax, and this is approximately $1,088, and this is at a discounted rate provided by Break the Cycle. And they will absorb delivery costs, and they will also provide posters, and that the poster is also in your packets as part of Exhibit 2. Additionally, staff contacted the school district, talked to the staff person who was really instrumental in trying to bring teen dating violence curriculum to the school district, and was informed that the board recently, at the end of September, passed decision, they approved having the Break the Cycle curriculum in the health classes. So this would be incoming freshmen. This year, the committee of teachers for the school district is going to sit down with Break the Cycle, and they're going to go through their lessons plan and decide which lesson plans to incorporate in the health classes. I anticipate this the launch won't be maybe till the next semester, but they're working on that curriculum now. And in speaking to the superintendent's office at the school district and asking what kind of information they were looking for, the school district would really like information that stays consistent with the bookmarks, which is really Break the Cycle's information, but they really like the consistent information provided by Break the Cycle. Staff did conduct independent research and kind of worked with the school district to see what they were interested in, but they did come back and say they like the bookmarks, they like the palm cards. These two items, and we can always update the bookmarks to have the up-to-date Break the Cycle information, such as the text and the new website. These two items are really what the school district would like to see. Any new material that we provide would have to go through the board's approval. But in asking them what material they want for their students, this is the feedback that we received. So this is what what staff has presented to the commission for your consideration. The cost for the bookmarks, as mentioned, for 10,000 would be $545, and those could go out in a week. I believe the palm cards could also be ready in about a week. At this point, if there's any questions, I can take questions, but that concludes my report.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Baboumian. So I guess the bottom line here is the bookmarks or the palm cards. The bookmarks can be updated to be the same information as the palm cards. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the two new ex officios on the spot, fair warning, and I've asked them to take a look at both and to let us know, let the commission know, would high school students find the palm cards more user-friendly than the bookmarks? Do you think they would be more accessible, more fun? Would they use them? So,
I'm sorry, I forgot to mention the palm cards are wallet size.
Right. Yeah, and sometimes they are used as bookmarks, as we understand, if that helps in your decision. So, which ex officio would like to go first? Ms. Alcazar?
Okay.
Okay, Ms. Alcazar?
I thought about it, and we're going through a digital age where there's transitions between using books to actually using what they call the Nooks and like iPads. So bookmarks might tend to be used, like their use is going to be decreasing. And as Staff Baboumian said, the palm cards are wallet size, so then teenagers will be able to fit them in their wallets and refer to them. Like if they were to let their friends know, if their friend would ask them like, oh, what's in your wallet, they can refer to the website and the information that's on the palm card, and the fact that it already has some of the information or most of the information that are usually on the bookmarks. And then once referred to the website, they can see the other information that they need to know about domestic violence and relationships.
Excellent. Ms. Sarkanian?
I agree with her, but I actually think that the bookmark is because I personally remember, like, last year, like, I clearly remember getting this bookmark. I was in Spanish class when they passed it out, and I remember that I actually kept it in my Spanish book, so every time I would go back to class, like, and go back to that page, I would just refer to it. So I don't know, I just personally, I like the bookmark, but
Okay.
Chair Devine, if I may add something. Thank you to both the students.
Yes, we'll do both. Go
I
ahead.
must just add, you are going to be excellent student. If you were to see our meeting last month, you almost mirrored exactly the sentiment amongst all the commissioners. There was a split, so on that thought as well.
Okay. Commissioner Tostian, you were not here at the last meeting when they discussed this. Do you have any comments, and how are you leaning?
Well, last year we ordered 10,000 bookmarks, or was it 5,000?
Commissioner Ashton, we ordered 10,000, and the reason for that is there's over 9,000 students at the 5 high schools in the school district, and adding Holy Family High School to that, I'm not sure how many students are at Holy Family, maybe
It's about 300.
300 altogether. So there's 300 students there. That would cover all the students and give the commission a few extra hundred to pass out at different events. And
Okay, Madam Chair, even though I think the bookmarks are effective, as what I just heard from Natalie, in my humble opinion, I think we should take it a step further and go ahead with the palm cards. So my recommendation is to skip the bookmarks this year and go ahead with the palm cards. And I mean, the cost is not that significant. So I think that that's how I would be leaning.
Is that a motion?
Well, I could make it a motion,
I'll
yes.
second.
Any discussion? Commissioner Miller, did you want to say
Yeah,
anything?
I agree with you, Commissioner Tashian. I do have a question for Ms. Baboumian.
yes.
So we have two choices here, but within our notes have we already made a decision to not go with the Break the Cycles offer? I recognize that the material's the same. I've compared both our bookmark from last year and what they've provided. The only difference is the checking your cell phone or email. That's the only update. But is that an option as well?
An option to...
Within the minutes, it identifies that there's a $1,000 cost to go with their materials, but that hasn't shown up as part of the discussion. Is that just for our information, or is that something we were supposed to consider?
Vice Chair Miller, that cost is there for your consideration, informing you that if we are to order these palm cards to distribute at the school district and to the Glendale schools, that there is a cost of approximately $1,088 that the commission will incur, and that's essentially, commission is covering that cost that the school district, I'm not sure if the school district is considering yet at this point putting the palm cards out to all the students, but that is something that the commission would be providing as a service to the schools, to the high schools in the community. I'm sorry if I didn't answer your question.
We can use the material from Break the Cycle as it appears that we did. We use the content. We can use it without having to use their actual printed materials, their graphics, and all these things that are identified.
We already have.
Yes, Vice Chair. And what we can do, for the back of the bookmark that you see in Exhibit 1, this was last year's bookmark, where it says the safe space, that would be updated with loveisrespect.org. And we would additionally possibly, make some space to include the text number and the live chat as well. So the resources that appear on the palm card, we are more than welcome to take that information and put it on the Commission's bookmark and reproduce our own bookmarks with Break the Cycle's blessing. It's just not lifting their logos and their imaging.
So again, therefore, if I'm being thick on this, I just want to understand why we have the fiscal impact. This is just for information only if we were to use their materials. It's not even on the table.
No, it is on the table.
It is.
No,
There's a-
we're voting whether to use the palm cards or the bookmarks, and if we use the palm cards, it's $1,000, and if we use the bookmarks, it's $500 and something. So what we have to decide is, do we want to go ahead and spend $1,000 on the computerized new wave? I'm a dinosaur when it comes to this kind of stuff, but I'm old school. But do we want to step it up, or do we want to just stay with the bookmarks? And my opinion is that I agree with Commissioner Alcazar and Commissioner Tostian. I think we ought to just take the extra step. I love the signs, and down at the bottom where it has the chat room and the peer advocates are available. I think that's information that is valuable, and so I would tend to say we should go ahead and spend the extra money and get $10,000. We may only give these palm cards to the ninth graders who are going to be doing the health classes, and save or keep back some of them so that when we have events, we have these palm cards to give. That's why we try to order so many extra, so that we can have them for other events as well. So that's where I stand on the item. But
And I agree with you, Chair Devine. I guess the root of my questions are, we don't have on comparison, why aren't we just making palm cards? Why are we why aren't we just designing and making and going to get a printer, and maybe our cost is $650 or $700? Why are we?
That's definitely
Right.
something that the
That's my
Commission...
point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Most certainly, Vice Chair Miller, that is something that the Commission can entertain. Staff just presented the bookmark as an option to update the bookmark, but most certainly staff would be willing to entertain a motion to redesign something on behalf of the Commission in a different shape, be it a palm card or a postcard, or however the Commission thinks would be most effective.
And have all that information on the bookmark. I know some of it's the same. I mean, it's all from Break the Cycle, but can we add all of this?
Yeah, staff can essentially take, if the Commission is okay with it, the dating abuse 1 and 3 at the top of the bookmark, the hand with the 1 blue and the 2 black armbands representing the 1 and 3, have that up the front with some sort of heading like dating abuse, and then on the back of the palm card most certainly mirror the information on the back of the palm card, including the 10 warning signs and the information. It just would not be using their love is the heart with the little photo that you see, and possibly the heart with the dialogue box. We just wouldn't be lifting their design. We would use our design and do our own. That's most certainly an option.
What about the posters? Is there posters involved? My understanding is that they also provide posters to give out to the schools.
Yeah, Commissioner Tostian, Chair, Break the Cycle offered to throw in the posters at no cost. And the nice thing about utilizing Break the Cycle's palm cards is if these posters go up, the image is exactly the same. I understand the cost is higher than what our own printing costs would be. There is some uniformity, though, when they go to the website, when they look at the poster, when they look at their palm card, it all looks the same. How that increases effectiveness, staff can't really comment on that,
And
but
I
it
like
is a nice
I like
option.
the idea that it's all compatible with the school district. I mean, they are really taking a big step in adding this to their curriculum. They've been involved with the Safe Family Task Force, and I personally would like to see us go in this direction. So.
So in terms of our efforts, then, if we were to go in that direction, then my next question becomes, where is it going to identify supported by the Glendale Commission on the Status of Women? Is there a place for that?
On the, Vice Chair Miller, on the pre-printed materials from Break the Cycle, no, it would not have that information on it.
Right.
Whereas if the commission were to produce its own materials, there is the ability to add that information on there.
That's an excellent point. Excellent point. Because I think that we need to, when we do these things, it's exposure for the commission as well. I think the community should know that the commission is behind this, is sponsoring it, is supporting it, and is paying for it. So I think that's an excellent point.
Well, and I also think that there is a way to really meet the need of uniformity, because we definitely, especially since Glendale, the Unified School District has looked at this within their curriculum, we definitely want to join forces within the community, but perhaps we are able to be more of the driver on that and go back to Break the Cycle and ask them for certain graphics or things that we could help keep the uniformity and getting the message out, or at least their logo. Let me taper it to at least their logo. If they'd like, I'm sure they'd like to be on whatever we create, wouldn't they?
Vice Chair Miller, I'm not sure if they would allow us to use their logo. The option that Break the Cycle presented to staff was you can order these palm cards, but if you don't order these palm cards, the commission is welcome to take the contact information, such as the website, the text number, and make your own, similar to what we did last year. We can go back and specify that request to Break the Cycle, most certainly. And perhaps if the commission is leaning towards reproducing our own palm cards, perhaps establish a temporary committee. Staff could work with graphics to put something together and allow possibly one or two commissioners from this committee to approve this, so we can expedite this and not hold it till the next meeting, as long as you approve the design. Once the entire commission approves what we're doing, if there is a redesign involved, that staff can work with a smaller committee on that over the course of this week.
Well, and then my question goes to our city attorney, Varpet, in terms of the, or perhaps you, Ms. Baboumian. So are we able to make a motion then to, for example, we know that there's $1,000. I think the impression I get is everybody is on board with doing something. We know it's not the cost that per se so much, it's how we spend that cost. And so, for example, if we were to keep moving this along, can we make a motion that says we would not exceed that amount, knowing that we may go out and get bids from printers that will come well under that? Is my question?
You can certainly entertain such a motion, but you do have a motion and a second on the table now. So you may either withdraw that or see if there's a friendly amendment to that motion. But that's something that you can certainly consider.
I'd like to ask a question. What would make you think that our printing would be less? A design and a print?
I didn't actually think in terms of design, because I think that we can do the design as evident from last year. I was strictly going off of printing, and I think that that is a fairly high cost for printing. And
Well, that makes a difference, of course.
Ms. Baboumian, do you think there would be a cost?
Certainly, staff can work with our graphics department in-house, which would not incur a cost to the commission as far as design, and then taking out a smaller card essentially to the same printer that the commission used last year for these bookmarks, who has requoted the same prices as last year. Staff would anticipate that the cost should at the least remain the same.
Okay.
So we're looking at Break the Cycle, Love is Respect, and this is a group from Los Angeles that President Obama and Vice President Joe Biden have certainly supported. And am I understanding that we're concerned about making sure that the Commission on the Status of Women from Glendale is given some sort of recognition on the palm card? Is that one of the things that that's important?
That is important, but it is also important to save money. Actually, when I was thinking about this card and the $1,000, thinking fiscally, I thought, well, if we don't give the police department $2,500, then we will have extra funds, or we'll have some funds to do the cards. But with Commissioner Miller's idea of us doing it ourselves, the school district said that they would accept the bookmarks. They were happy with the bookmarks as long as we changed the information on the back. So if we duplicate this card, the palm card, I would think that they would be very happy with that. Am I correct,
Yes,
Ms. Pavilion?
Chair, Devine, members of the commission, school district is happy to have either the palm card that comes from Break the Cycle or an updated version of the bookmark, or doesn't matter, I'm calling it a bookmark, but it could be a palm card as well. It could be a postcard. But the information that was presented, the school district was very happy with. And either of these options would not have to go to the school board for a decision. It would, because it's already been approved.
Okay.
And if I may just comment, Commissioner Burns, one of the reasons I asked those questions, or I was thinking in terms of this, has a lot to do, when I first came on this commission, it was not apparent to me until I became a commissioner how many things this commission does within the city of Glendale that really has a positive impact. And so in thinking about that, it's not so much per se, let's give credit, it's just knowing that this is what we stand for and what we're behind. It's more of like a brand recognition. To me, it's more how you do good public relations business about who you are and what you're standing for. And so this, to me, is just consistent with that. And I would continue to promote that probably in every single event that we go forward in.
I totally agree.
So do we have a motion now that was seconded, first of all? Okay, now do we need to table that motion?
But you can vote on that motion, but if the maker of the motion, the commissioner who seconded it, wishes to amend it, you could certainly do that. Or you can take a vote.
Well, I'm basically a little confused because I've been hearing commissioners change minds. So I kind of want to make sure that we're all on the same page if we take that back. See, I still think the palm cards, and I think the Break the Cycle is the way to go.
Well, do we want to, why don't we let the motion stand, and we'll take a vote, and then if it doesn't pass, we'll have another motion.
So just for clarification, the motion was to approve staff to proceed with the palm cards, with Break the Cycle, and to authorize staff to spend $1,088 to that effect.
Correct.
I think that was what
That was it.
That was the motion.
That is the motion, and we
Which
have a
was seconded.
second.
And that was
Yes, I did.
seconded by
So we
Commissioner
can-
Burns.
We can have a vote, and then if it doesn't pass, we'll have another motion. Okay. Roll call?
Commissioner Burns?
Yes.
Vice Chair Miller?
No?
Commissioner Tastian?
Yes.
Chair Devine?
No.
Okay, so then that motion would fail, and if the commission wishes to entertain a different motion, you may do so at this time.
I am going to put forth a motion that we proceed forward with the domestic violence awareness materials in the form of either the palm card and or the bookmark, teen violence, not to exceed $1,000, and that we work with our city staff and go forth from there.
I don't quite understand that motion.
Well, I was trying to get in all the terms. You didn't. I was trying to get in all the dots there, Commissioner Tashtian.
I'm sorry.
Perhaps it would help if you took the motion in steps. Do you want the palm card or the bookmark? Do you want to work with the organization or do you not? And then third, do you want to put a cap on the amount? So I think those are the three elements of the decisions that you need to make. And if you'd like to allow staff to make that determination with a smaller group of the commission, you could certainly do that too. But I think those are all the moving parts that you need to decide on.
In one motion.
Well, then I will first make a motion that we proceed forward with the palm card.
I'm sorry, just to clarify, Vice Chair Miller.
Do you want me to break them down to three motions?
The palm card, a redesigned version of our bookmark as a palm card.
Well, actually, where I would like to start is, have I gone down a path yet?
I think what she wants to do is choose between the bookmark versus the palm card, and then make a determination of staff design or pre-designed.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, and so my motion is that we go with staff design, that we proceed forward with staff design on a palm card.
With a cost not to exceed.
Okay.
So I think at this point you're looking for a second to that motion.
Second?
If there is no second, then the
second?
motion would die for lack of a second.
Okay, so
So-
just for me to
Okay.
clarify myself.
Mr. Tostian.
Thank you, Chair. The motion is for staff to look into a design that's going to be hopefully created by our staff on a palm card with a cost not to exceed $10,000. Is that what the
No,
motion?
1,000.
Sorry, 1,000. Sorry, 1,000. Okay.
No, the motion would be that the commission would give staff permission to make a palm card to replace the bookmark with the same information on it as Break the Cycle, and to limit the cost at $1,000. That would be the motion.
And just for clarification, Vice Chair Miller did not assign a dollar figure. Was that your intent to say not to exceed $1,000?
Well, originally I had all of that in the first motion, but when I was instructed to break it down, I broke it down. So the answer is yes. Yes.
Yes.
But
So, does that clarify your question?
It does, it does.
Okay, so we have no second on that motion, so that one dies. So do we have another motion? Another suggestion?
so
Okay, then we'll table it and bring it back at another time. Next item, please.
Madam
Yes.
Chair, I just want to, I don't know why you would decide to bring it back. Is there a desire to bring it back?
Well, we may have a fifth person, a fifth commissioner, and maybe that would break the tie.
Okay.
But the idea is that this commission wants to produce either a bookmark or a palm card, and it sounds like it's a palm card, but we don't know who we want to pay to do it. And I know the school district would like to have it. I know most of us would like to have it in some sort, so I do want to bring it back because I want to get it into the schools. They're doing a wonderful thing to have this in their curriculum, and I think we have to do our part. We should do our part, and we will do our part. But if we have to wait until Commissioner Garsavanian is here to break this tie, then I think that's what we should do.
So
Are there
perhaps-
any, are there any time constraints on this? Is
No.
that something that we need to
Commissioner
decide?
Koshin, that is it's at the will of the commission.
Then I think we should bring it back at our next meeting.
This is something that affects students year-round. It was brought to the commission during October as part of the Domestic Violence Awareness Month activities, but in all honesty, any time that the students receive this information will be of value and of use.
And February is traditionally teen dating violence month. So even if we make the decision by then or before then, we are still hitting the mark for that observance. So
Then I would request that it come back on the November 14th meeting.
great.
So, Madam Chair,
Yes.
maybe the additional information that you could seek of staff would be to ascertain the cost of doing the palm cards.
Yes,
And
yes.
secondly, maybe checking with Break the Cycle to see if additional language could be
Yes.
added to their posters. And I don't know if it won't look as attractive, but certainly that's something that we can pursue.
That would be great. So, Ms. Babumian, if you could do that and bring
Most
it back.
certainly,
we'll
staff will bring it
next
back
time.
with those, with that information at the
Let's
next
move
meeting.
on. Next item.
Thank you.
3 is consideration and discussion of the Commission on the Status of Women's Committee Responsibilities and Assignments. A is a motion providing direction regarding committee responsibilities and assignments.
Ms. Babumian?
Chair Devine, members of the Commission, at the June 2004 meeting of the Commission on the Status of Women, the Commission had established 4 working committees to address elements of the strategic plan. Since then, the Commission has undergone several changes, including having an updated strategic plan which runs from 2009 to 2014. And the only standing committee for the Commission at this time is the Policy and Program Committee. Staff recommends that the Commission have the following 3 committees, which include Communications Committee, a Signature Programs Committee, and a Development Committee. These committees reflect the goals stated in the 09 to 14 strategic plan for the Commission. And each committee would be working with their fellow commissioners for feedback and directly with staff to fulfill commission direction and goals. The committee appointments would be for a 1-year term. This would run from October 2011 to October 2012, and commissioners are eligible for reappointment of these committees. The Policy, Program, and Planning Committee was originally comprised of the chair, vice chair, and up to 2 appointed members. This was at a time when the Commission had 7 members, not including the student ex officios. And at this time, with the changes in membership to not violate Brown Act standards and not have to hold public meetings every time the committees get together, for all of the committees, staff recommends that no more than 2 commissioners be on any one committee, but that does not exclude the student ex officio commissioners. The Brown Act does not apply to them since they don't have voting abilities, so they are able to join any committee they can tack on as additional resources. And so the Policy, Program, and Planning Committee, coming back to this, is primarily responsible for the strategic planning process, reporting any publications put out by the Commission, suggesting policies and programs, and selecting the focus for the upcoming year. One of the programs that this committee might look at is doing an updated women's report. There was one done from 2004 to 2006. The complete census information is not available yet, but staff believes it should be by the end of the year, and at that time that is something that the Commission may look at. And the Communications Committee would be responsible for developing community relations, marketing, and speaking to the community about the Commission. As outlined in the Commission on the Status of Women's procedural guidelines that were finalized back in November of 2004, the chair and/or vice chair are designated as the official spokesperson to the press media on official decisions, and so staff recommends that this committee be comprised of no more than 2 commissioners, and further recommends that the chair serve as a spokesperson for this committee to keep consistent with the procedural guidelines. The Development Committee would be responsible for exploring options for permanent long-term funding sources, developing public and private partnerships to enhance sponsorships and funding opportunities, and exploring options for volunteer recruitment, and staff recommends that at least 1 commissioner serve on this committee. And the Signature Program Committee would be responsible for working with staff on the various programs that the Commission organizes. And as outlined in the strategic plan, the signature programs of the Commission consist of the following: Money Matters, those are the financial literacy workshops; Camp Rosie, which is the summer camp for teen girls that the Commission organizes; Sexual Assault Awareness Month and Domestic Violence Awareness Month; the Hands and Words Are Not for Hurting project. This is funding that the Commission annually provides with the Commission's consideration every year for Hands and Words curriculum materials that goes to the school district. This is for the anti-violence week in January that the schools celebrate. There's Ready, Set, Vote. This would be any time there are statewide elections or federal elections. The Commission has historically partnered with the League of Women Voters to bring ballot forum measures. The League of Women Voters never endorses any person running for office. Usually it's the ballot measures that are presented in a neutral setting that the Commission partners with. Women at the Table, how to get appointed to a city board or commission. This is one of the signature programs. It's been tabled for the last couple of years, and that, again, up to the Commission how to proceed. And Girls on the Run, that is a nonprofit that the Commission has supported in various capacities to help really help them establish their roots in Glendale and grow throughout the schools, and most notably, the Commission has helped them move into the South Glendale schools. At this time, it's recommended that the Commission provide direction regarding these committee responsibility and assignments. If there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to entertain them. That concludes my report. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Babumian. I think to put this in a nutshell, what we're asking is that each commissioner choose the focus that suits you best. Whether it be Communications Committee, Development Committee, or Signature Program Committee. The reason I didn't mention Policy, Program, and Planning is because it's traditionally the chair and vice chair on that one, and we can only have two. So what we need tonight is for Commissioner Burns, Miller, Tostian to choose the committee which you would like to serve on. The Communication Committee, since I'm the chair, I'm already on that one as well, so if anyone wants to join me. And what that would mean is that you would attend luncheons, meetings, Rotary, Kiwanis, any of the public service organizations in the community that either give us grants or ask us to do a program, that you would be willing to go and speak on our behalf. So that would be the duties of that committee. So that would leave one to volunteer for that, and then the Development Committee and the Signature Program Committee, two of you can volunteer for those. With the Development Committee, it would mostly be, the way I see it, and Ms. Babumian, you can correct me on this, it would be more or less a service to you in finding grant opportunities, maybe doing some research in that, and of course working in the community to find long-term sources of funding for us. That's always been kind of a weak spot, and would like to get a couple of commissioners on that would go out in the community and see if we could find friends in the community that would support our programs. And then the signature programs, of course, that would mean that the two commissioners on this would plan the Sexual Assault Awareness Month, would plan the Domestic Violence Awareness Month, as Ms. Babumian and I did this year, and the other programs involved. So what I ask now is that you simply give us your choices, and I can start with Commissioner Burns.
Madam Chair, if I just interject with a point of clarification about the Brown Act. If you're establishing permanent committees that have a longer standing period, they are in fact subject to the Brown Act, and they are subject to the noticing requirements of the Brown Act, which is not a problem at all. The staff can assist you in setting the dates and notifying the public of the dates. So the one standing committee that you're referencing, the Policy, Policy Programs Committee is a standing committee, and those meetings are in fact subject to the Brown Act. With regard to the remainder of the committees, if the desire is to form an ad hoc committee that meets for a limited amount of time for a specific purpose, then those would not be subject to the Brown Act, but otherwise they would. So that's something that you want to consider moving forward.
So, Ms. Babumian, they would be ad hoc committees, correct? Yeah.
Yes, we can most certainly change these all to ad hoc committees so that it provides some flexibility to the commissioners when they meet.
That's the way we've had it in the past. We have had them as ad hoc committees.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
you lost me on policy programs and planning. The vice chair and chair are the two members of policy program and planning. And did I hear you say that was subject to the Brown Act?
That would be correct. If they are standing advisory committees to this commission, then they would be subject to the Brown Act. And all that means is that they have to be properly noticed and posted. But committees that meet for a limited purpose, say for example, you want to update the strategic plan, and the idea is that the committee gets together, updates the plan, and at the end of that event, they will cease to exist, then that would be considered an ad hoc committee, and they would not be subject to the notice requirements of the Brown Act.
And you asked me to, I would certainly like to be on the development committee.
Okay.
And that would be possibly just myself and Christine. Is that the way I read that, Christine?
Commissioner Burns, it's most certainly if the commission would like to have one commissioner.
Well, we have enough to have two,
Sure.
so perhaps Garsavani and Commissioner, or if anyone else would like to do it.
I think that's kind of probably a major bottom line.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, great.
Bache.
Okay. Commissioner Miller?
I'm on the policy committee, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I would be happy to serve on the communications or the development committee.
Choose.
Development.
Okay. Yeah. Commissioner Miller. Commissioner Tostian?
Well, we have you, Chair Devine, on the Communications Committee.
Correct.
I don't think we could get a better individual on that committee. So I'm going to
thank you.
request that I be on the Signature Programs Committee.
Okay, all right. And perhaps Commissioner Garsavani would join you in that one. Then we'd have two of you, and you can kind of talk things over and plan. Okay? Is that it, Ms. Babumian?
Yes, and not to pressure our new student ex officios, but they are
Okay.
more than, staff is not expecting a response at this time, but more just wanted to make sure that the student ex officios are aware that they can jump into any of these committees if they look over the Signature Program Committee list and there's anything on there that interests them, or if there's any questions that either of you have, staff would be more than happy to answer any questions. But just keep in mind that you can always contact Chair Devine or staff to help out with any of the committees. That's all. Thank you.
And also be aware that just because Vice Chair Miller and I are on policy, program, and planning, that you were always invited to suggest programs and policies. It doesn't mean that the two of us solely make those decisions, and that's the case with all of the committees, okay? Do we need a motion on those ad hoc committees? Okay, do I have a motion to accept the ad hoc committees as stated?
Yes, and just to clarify, Chair
Okay.
Devine, the ad hoc committee assignments, the policy program and planning ad hoc committee would consist of Chair Devine and Vice Chair Miller.
Okay.
The communications ad hoc committee would consist of Chair Devine. The development ad hoc committee would consist of Commissioner Burns and Vice Chair Miller. And the Signature Programs Ad Hoc Committee would consist of Commissioners Tashchin and Garsavanian.
Any corrections to that? I also will add that on the Communications Committee, if I'm doing that, even if I'm not doing it by myself, that doesn't preclude me calling and saying, I'm not able to get to this meeting or whatever. Would you please step in for me? Okay. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Vote. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Burns?
Yes.
Vice Chair Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Tashchin?
Yes.
And Chair Devine.
Yes. Thank you all very much for volunteering. I meant to read, Ms. Baboumian included the strategic plan, and I wanted to read the mission statement that the Commission on the Status of Women is charged with building new and strengthening existing bridges between the city's diverse groups, organizations, agencies, and individuals by increasing the level of knowledge in the community regarding women's issues and the status of women in our community, by encouraging and promoting and by increasing the visibility of women in all spheres of life in Glendale, including home, work, school, and government. And hopefully that's what we will do through these committees. Thank you all. Next item, please.
4 is appointment of Chair of the 2012 Jewels of Glendale Fundraising Luncheon. Motion appointing the Chair for the 2012 Jewels of Glendale Fundraising Luncheon.
Ms. Baboumian?
Chair, Devine, members of the Commission, the Commission on the Status of Women's Jewels of Glendale Awards Luncheon is the major and only fundraising event of the Commission on the Status of Women, and 2012 will mark the 8th anniversary of this event. Its purpose is to bring attention to the accomplishments of women in the City of Glendale and to raise funds for the various projects of the Commission. Traditionally, this event was held in the month of March to honor Women's History Month, but for the past 2 years, this event has been held in May and has proven to be just as successful in May as it was in March. At this time, staff respectfully recommends that the Commission appoint a member to serve as the chair of this event. The chair works with staff to ensure the proper planning, coordination, and implementation of a successful Jewels event. The chair and staff will solicit commissioners to volunteer their efforts in the following areas. First being sponsorships, to help coordinate materials for sponsorship. 2 is advertisements, coordinate the solicitation of advertisements for the program book. 3 is silent auction and giveaways, and this would be items that the Commission gets donated for the silent auction at the event, and any possible giveaways for the guests of the event. 4 is a speaker/talent, if there is any, and the awards. This involves securing a speaker and mistress or master of ceremonies, any possible entertainment for the event, and selecting the Jewel Award winners along with the chair of the event. So each of these 4 areas work in coordination with the chair of the Jewels Luncheon and staff to execute the various portions. It's the standing recommendation that each commission member attempts to secure at least 5 sponsorships and 5 items for the silent auction. And staff is seeking commission direction as with regards to who will chair the Jewels event and who will help assist in each of the 4 additional areas of planning for the Jewels of Glendale 2012 event. In addition, nominations for the 2012 Jewel of Glendale Award would need to be opened up so that interested parties or organizations can nominate eligible women for consideration of the award. A date and venue for the event would also need to be selected. These may be selected by the Commission as a whole tonight or by the chair of the Jewels event along with the chair of the Commission and staff. Based on other events scheduled in 2012, staff recommends that the Commission consider Thursday, May 3rd of 2012 for this event. That concludes my report. If there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Okay, right off the bat, save the date, May 3rd, right?
If that is
Mark
a date
that on your
that-
calendars, everybody. Okay, for now. All right, so bottom line here is I just received an email today, and at the end of the email, this was the quote: "Many hands make a job lighter. So we have, I recall that Commissioner Garsavanian has volunteered, and I'm not doing this because he's not here, but he did volunteer to be the chair of this event. Okay, so we will assume that he's going to take that job and go on from there. So what we need is, I'm going to do the Speaker Talent and Awards because of the Chair's Award. So we need sponsorship, advertisement, and silent auction giveaways to work with Commissioner Garsavanian, Chair of this event. So do I have volunteers for?
Chair Devine, if
Yes.
I may just, and my fellow commissioners, if I can just jump in, I know with that date, that tends to coincide with my national conference that I will probably be at. So my volunteerism would best be spent on advertisements because that has a lead time well before that luncheon.
Okay. Okay. And maybe we should postpone, so Commissioner...
Well, I might be able to come back a day early.
Okay.
Conference is in Indiana this year, so I'll be thrilled to come back.
Okay, great. All right, so we'll put Commissioner Miller on ads. Okay, sponsorships and silent auction.
I don't mind handling the silent auction and giveaways, and I can do that. I did it last year, but I guess I can do it again this year.
Mr. Burns?
Chair Devine, I'm confused about, this is twice. 4, secure speaker and any entertainment for the event, and select the Jewel Award winners along with the chair, and that word chair would be Chris, would it not?
Yes, correct.
Okay. When you
Yes,
said
you're
that
right, yeah.
that's what you would be interested in doing, I didn't know.
Because of the special chair award that we give. We give a special award from the chair.
But you're not referring to yourself when you say chair of the event?
No.
Okay,
No. So that would leave sponsorships.
might do.
Pardon?
I said it might leave them. I don't know what's involved with sponsorships with regard to the luncheon.
Each responsibility involves coordinating all the commissioners, making sure that they are doing the best that they can, but of course, being the lead, you are responsible for making sure that we have sponsorships or ads or silent auction items.
Well, I would have to say
we all work together.
The number 2, as you're talking about the ads, number 1 is sponsorships. You're asking for each commissioner to secure 5 major sponsorships.
We have in the past done that.
This is what I'm reading now. So that the person who's responsible for sponsorships would look to each commissioner for 5 major sponsorships. Is that correct?
Well, you would, yes, you would expect them, you would ask them to come up with sponsorships.
We're not talking about me buying a ticket as a sponsorship.
No, we are not. We are talking about sponsorships in the community, for instance, the hospitals, the
Rick
private
Caruso,
owners,
Americana.
yes, General Growth,
Sure.
whatever, yes,
Okay.
as many as we can come up with, yes.
And since I did not put to memory what sponsorships brought in last year, can anyone refresh my memory about money?
Yes.
How much did sponsorships
Booming, was
bring
it
in
10 or
last year?
15,000?
I believe in major sponsorships alone, we had $10,000, Commissioner Burns. The major sponsor was Glendale Adventist Medical Center at $5,000. It's the diamond sponsor, going off of memory here. And then we had 4 emerald sponsors, which is $1,000. That was Caruso Affiliated Americana brand, Glendale
Memorial
Memorial Hospital, Yes, these are the 1,000 mark, Glendale Management Association, and
Water and
Glendale
Power.
Water and Power. And then at the $500 Ruby level, we had Acura of Glendale and Massage Envy. Yes. Those were the major sponsorships, which...
And in the past, well, we've kind of it's gone by the wayside, but it was also expected that each commissioner would be a sponsor, a $500 sponsor, but that kind of went by the wayside. So we don't really adhere to that anymore. Ms. Baboumian?
To clarify, Chair Devine, the goal of the commission has been in the past that each commissioner bring in a table's worth of guests. Their guests, whether each commissioner covers that cost or they invite their friends or their coworkers, acquaintances to sit at their table, and essentially these are individual sponsorships and have a table's worth of guests at their table, and it does not matter if it's covered by the commissioner themselves or each member at that table covers the cost of their own ticket. But traditionally, the goal has been for each commissioner to have a table, so to speak.
Either to underwrite or to collect from each of the other 9 people. That's fine. I'll certainly work on that.
Okay, very good. So we have Commissioner Burns on sponsorships, Commissioner Miller on advertisement, Tostian on silent auction and giveaways, and Commissioner Devine, speaker and talent. Okay, and awards.
And
The chair of the event also as part of the speaker, talent, and awards committee?
No.
Just the chair of the commission, but not the chair of the event?
I am the chair of this
Speaker, talent, and awards
Number
committee?
4 will be myself.
Okay.
When it comes to the awards, the 3 awards, he will assist. Yeah. Since he's the chair.
yes, essentially, each commissioner working on the 4 areas of the event would work in conjunction with the chair of the event. In this case, it looks like it'll be Commissioner Garza-Vanyan and staff to help coordinate those efforts. And if I may, perhaps we can should we add the date of the event? We can add the date of the event to the motion.
May 3rd. Okay.
And if there's any location recommendations?
Well, we did use Oakmont Country Club last year. Let's table that until a later date, unless someone has some real strong feelings about definitely making a decision tonight. Commissioner Burns.
May 3rd is pretty close to Mother's Day. And it would seem to me if we were interested in having the club, we should probably find out whether it's available.
Right, yeah. I
wouldn't leave that for another month.
I would too. I don't think we should be voting or considering the date yet. If you want to check on that, and if we decide, if staff can contact the major hotels and venues, find out what the availability is on May 3rd, then get back to us next month, and then we can make that decision.
Oh, certainly.
Okay? Yeah. I think it's too soon to decide that.
But is that a decision that's made by the commission or as a whole, or the chair of the commission and the chair of the event? Perhaps that should be left.
The entire commission makes that final decision, but the chair will work with Ms. Baboumian to decide, the final or the top 2 and the date, right? That's what we did last year.
However the commission sees fit, that task can be assigned to the chair of the event in conjunction with the chair of the commission and staff to find, based on availability and cost, to finalize the date and the location, or those can come back to the entire commission for reconsideration or consideration, however the commission sees fit.
Well, I think tonight, let's just vote on the chairs of these committees, and then we'll bring back the rest of the information when we have it. Okay?
Madam Chair, would that include the date?
Yes, that would include the date and the venue.
Because earlier you stated that people should mark the date, so that there is no
right.
final decision made on the date?
Yes, right.
Okay.
Yeah, so hang in there.
So
We're
what do we do?
going to try for May 3rd, so, yeah.
So the motion is to have Commissioner Garcevanyan chair the event, to have Commissioner Burns work on sponsorships, Vice Chair Miller work on advertisements, Commissioner Tashjian to work on silent auction and giveaways, and Chair Devine to work on speaker talent and awards. And the recommendation put forth by the commission is to try to secure Thursday, May 3rd as the date for the Jules luncheon. Can we? No?
No date, just the
No.
chairs.
Okay, just the chairs.
Yeah, just the chairs.
Okay, just the chairs.
Yeah, because we also have another conflict with Seroptimus International of Glendale on the first Thursday of the month, so we may
Okay.
have to take that into consideration. So do I have a motion on this?
Look, would someone like to
chairs.
repeat it?
Yes, to accept the chairs as Ms. Baboumian and has stated,
And nothing else?
and nothing
Would you
else.
like me to repeat for?
No,
no.
that's fine. I'll
Second.
okay, I made the motion, you're seconding, that's fine.
Roll call?
Commissioner Burns?
Yes.
Vice Chair Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Tashjian?
Yes.
And Chair Devine.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Next item. Thank you, Commissioners.
B is reports, information only. One is Commission on the Status of Women's 2011 Master Calendar of Events.
This is the...
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
Ms. Baboumian?
I'm sorry, Chair
That's
Devine,
okay.
members of the commission. This is the recurring calendar with the most up-to-date information for the commission. If there's any corrections, deletions, additions, staff can take those at this time.
I don't see any, if anyone else. Please remember that October 15th is National Mammogram Day, so please be sure to get your mammograms. Are there any corrections to the calendar?
Madam
Okay.
Chair,
Yes.
tell me about the ACCWQ meeting, and
that-
who is supposed to be attending that?
No, it's a teleconference call, and it
Okay.
is scheduled for October 25th, and
All right.
that is the board meeting, or it's a board teleconference, and I'm on that board, so I'll be taking that from 4 to 6 on that day. And then I'll report back to the commission on what we discussed.
So this is not anything that anyone needs to attend?
Right, correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, note and file.
Thank you.
Next item.
2 is update on series of financial literacy workshops in conjunction with State Senator Carol Liu.
Ms. Baboumian?
Yes, Chair Devine, members of the commission, this report is being provided as an update on the financial literacy series that the commission put together in conjunction with State Senator Carol Liu throughout the month of September. These events targeted women from a diverse range of backgrounds and levels of financial literacy education. The first event that was to take place was at Junior Achievement of Southern California on September 10th, and this was to be a 3-hour basic level workshop regarding money and budgeting aimed at women from low-income families. And unfortunately, the event had to be canceled due to a low number of reservations. The reservations weren't there, and Junior Achievement, as discussed at a previous meeting, did want a high number of participants at the event. In addition to this event, the Commission also approved a series of financial literacy workshops that took place locally in the Police Community Room in Glendale. The workshops' dates and topics were as follows. Thursday, September 15th, Cash and Risk Management. September 22nd, Tax and Investment Planning. September 29th, Estate Planning. Each workshop had excellent, talented presenters who volunteered their time to the series, along with licensed CPAs that were there to help answer questions at the end of each session. Although staff conducted extensive outreach for the events that were organized, each workshop had about 8 participants on average, with the high being 12. That being said, the feedback provided by the participants indicated that they did enjoy the workshops and found them beneficial, and that they enjoyed being in the smaller group, which yielded more fruitful discussions during the Q&A session. That concludes my brief report. If there's any questions, staff would be happy to take them now.
Any comments from the commissioners? I know that Commissioner Miller and I were at the first one, and I think Commissioner Burns and Commissioner Garsavanian were at another one. I spoke with Ms. Baboumian about this, and in the past, we've had this financial literacy class. We've had one, and we've gotten, the attendance was about 30. So in these 3 classes that we offered, we got about 30 people. So it wasn't as great a success as we'd hoped. That's probably an understatement. So we'll be having a wrap-up meeting with the Senator's people, and we'll come up with some conclusions on how we can tweak it again for next year and see if we can make it better. Any other comments?
Yes, Madam
Commissioner
Chair.
Byrne?
You might want to tweak the topics.
Right.
Seriously.
Commissioner Burns, you're invited to come to the meeting.
But I would like to.
Yes, and Ms. Baboumian will let you know when the meeting is. Okay?
The date has not been set yet.
That would be great if you
Good.
could. Okay? All right. Next item, please. Note to
6
file
is
that.
commissioner and staff comments.
Okay, we'll start with Commissioner Alcazar. Do you have any comments, or how you doing over
Good,
there? Huh? Kiddo, how you doing?
I would like to thank the commission for having me here tonight, and since it's my first time meeting with the commission, and it's been a great opportunity. And I hope to be a part of all the events that we are hosting and be a part of your committees in relating it to our high schools in Glendale and further throughout the community. So thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Commissioner Burns?
Welcome. I think we've said everything we need.
Commissioner Miller?
I want to welcome both of you and tell you how nice it was to have you here tonight and to have your input as we were addressing topics that were, it was nice to have you speaking right as these things are taking place within the schools. I wanted to make just a couple of announcements. Massage MV is first off, World Arthritis Day is October 12th. And Massage MV right here in Glendale is proud to host Healing Hands for Arthritis, and they're raising funds to fight a chronic disease, and that chronic disease affects 50 million Americans. They will donate $10 for every person who gets a massage or a therapeutic or a facial. And to call their book, you call 818-246-3689. Again, that's 818-246-3689. Also, I just wanted to make sure that you all saw this weekend in your paper about October being Pink Month and to stop and think pink. And that Glendale Adventist is offering a number of programs, as well as the ability to get a mammogram at a very low cost. So you can call into 818-409-8010. Again, that's 409-8010. And I also wanted to just welcome back Chair Devine. She's been on a trip and away, and I'm so thrilled you're back and running this meeting. And I also wanted to just extend best wishes to our ex officio student, Denalian.
Mr. Tostian?
I would also like to welcome Jacqueline and Natalie to this commission. I hope that your time here would be a rewarding experience and hopefully would lead to future endeavors with the city, with the county, and perhaps with the state. Good luck to both of you.
Natalie?
I would just like to say thank you for the opportunity. I'm very looking forward to working with you guys on all the projects that are coming in the future year.
Staff?
Just to echo, welcome to the student commissioners and looking forward to an exciting year ahead. two quick announcements. One is as we mentioned today, the candlelight vigil that the Commission and the YWCA have organized on Thursday, October 20th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. It's a very nice, moving event, so those in the community who are free that evening should definitely come. And for more information, they can call 818-548-4844. And I'd also like to announce that today, October 10th, 2011, marks the 100th anniversary of women winning the right to vote in California. And this happened nearly a decade earlier than the passage of the 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution in 1920. So, just wanted to make that note. Today marks an important day for California.
And for women.
Women.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair Devine, if I may, I actually have to go back. I gave, can you believe it? I gave a wrong number to my own hospital. You want to call 818-409-8100, 818-409-8100 to schedule your low-cost mammogram during the month of October. Thank you, Chair Devine.
You're welcome.
Madam Chair. Today is also Columbus Day, so happy Columbus Day.
Yes, for all of you out there that are watching this, I hope you had a lovely day. I want to announce, in case the community doesn't know, the Domestic Violence Task Force that we are involved with is now being called the Safe Family Task Force. They are offering, with the Glendale YWCA, a free workshop on family violence for clergy and lay people involved in pastoral care. This will be a chance to learn more about domestic violence, local resources, and how the clergy are responding. This is going to be held on Thursday, December 15th. And what I'm asking is that all of the commissioners and ex officios and staff, if you would please bring this to the attention of your clergy, no matter what religion, no matter what belief, to attend this forum, which is going to be held at the YWCA. It will be from 9:30 to 1:30 on December 15th. There will be lunch provided for $6, but there will be a breakfast snack which will be free. It will be at the YWCA of Glendale. This is an effort to educate the clergy of this community about domestic violence, how to recognize it, what to do if you see it. If a woman comes to you or a man comes to you and says that they are being abused, that the clergy in our community know how to respond. So please, December 15th, if you would just go to your clergy and say, please go to this forum and learn about domestic violence and what we can do. That's my first announcement. Second, before I left, the Armenian Relief Society had an event and for the CPON chapter for their healing center. It was a very successful event, and what they're doing is establishing a domestic violence hotline for the Armenian community. And they are working closely with the YWCA and Door of Hope to bring this to fruition. But the reason I bring this up, and I congratulate them, but if any of you are watching tonight, members of the ARS, that's the Armenian Relief Society. I was recently in Yerevan in Armenia, and we had a local guide. And the local guide was talking about the close relationship of the Armenians in Armenia and the Armenians here in the United States. What a close relationship and how they help each other. And one of the things that they mentioned was the Armenian Relief Society in the United States. And I thought that was really fabulous that they were telling. So they are telling every tourist that comes to Yerevan about the ARS here in the United States. And so I think you should be very proud of that, and you are getting recognition in Armenia that you probably don't even know about. But I do want you to know. The last message that I would like to talk about is that I don't know how many of the commissioners or how many of you out there saw the LA Times this weekend, but the Nobel Peace Prize is going to 3 women in Africa. 3 women who started especially one that started a grassroots effort to end violence. Not only violence against the people, but especially violence against women, including, of course, rape and other abuses. They started by sit-ins. They would sit in the heat, in the rain, in the humidity for days and days while the government was trying to end a war and bring peace to Liberia. By doing all of these events, the numbers of women grew because they knew that if women would get involved in numbers, that change could happen. In Sunday's paper, there was an article called "The Power of the Powerless," and it is about the peace activist in Liberia, and she is one of the Nobel Peace Prize awardees. And the final paragraph reads as this: "Movements begin with people who can imagine the possibility of change and communicate that vision. How did a movement of ordinary Liberian women change history? Well, listen to Lema, and she's one of the awardees. You can tell people of the need to struggle, but when the powerless start to see that they really can make a difference, nothing can quench that fire. So let us keep working. We are the grassroots. Let us keep working in our city to end domestic violence in this city and hopefully all over the world. In my travels this past 3 weeks, I have been to small countries where 68% of the women are abused. They have finally started a support system, a shelter. I've been to New Guinea, where the tribes have tribunals where they actually 3 times, and if a man is reported for abuse, they are separated. And I told everybody in the group that I was with said, "Wow, 3 times." And I said, in the United States, it's 7. It takes 7 times before a woman leaves the relationship. So even the smallest and the most backward and third world countries are starting to recognize that domestic violence must end. And I hope that all of you will attend the domestic violence candlelight vigil. And if you don't, please wear a purple ribbon and recognize that domestic violence must end. And with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
This meeting is adjourned at 7:29. Thank you.